because we're going to start with Dani Alves. So as a neutral, Alan, I ask you, what were your impressions of that signing when you saw that it went down?
I'm very pleased with the signing. I think it's great for Barcelona. It's great for La Liga on several levels. I mean, obviously there's qualities. There's his qualities as a footballer. I mean, of course, he's 38 years old. He isn't the player he was when he left for Juventus in the summer of 2016. But he's still probably the greatest right back in the history of the game. He's a competitive animal. Just last August, September, he led Brazil to the Olympic gold. He played every minute of every single game. So he's still a functional, capable footballer. He's not a geriatric who can only play one game in three. And the thing with Dani Alves, it has been said by several people, most notably, Sid Lowe in recent times since the signing happened. While he's a jovial, full of life character, he is also a very, very serious competitor. And I have full confidence that while we can't speculate as to how much he'll contribute on the pitch for Barcelona, how many games to play between now and the end of the season, how many assists to contribute, how well he'll be getting up and down the right flank. What we do know is that from today, I'm pretty sure training has gone up octane because you have a guy who's a serious competitor. He was a key part of Pep Guardiola's Barcelona team. Xavi knows this. That's why he brought him back. He's personal experience of how he is as a person. So I'm pretty sure that, in terms of the application to training across the squad, things will rise because not only is he coming into the squad with a winning mentality, because Piqué has that, you could say Marc-Andre Ter Stegen has that, Jordi Alba has that. All these guys have that. Messi had that, of course. But what you have with Dani Alves, what you don't have with them, is that this is a reprieve for him. This is a lease of life because he didn't have a club for the last 3 or 4 months since he left Sao Paulo in September. And that didn't end very well. It was quite acrimonious. And I've just come back from Brazil. So I know what the situation there is in terms of how he's perceived and all that kind of thing. There was a lot of, discrepancy over money and over the way he was playing and the position he was playing and how he was playing. But let's not go there. But the point is that he knows now he has a chance between now and next November when the 2022 World Cup begins in Qatar. He is a period where he can do his best to get into TT's squad for the World Cup. That's his primary ambition. So he's coming in with 2 goals. One is to rebuild the Barcelona team, and the other is to get into that squad. And he's doing it knowing that had things gone a different way, had Barcelona chosen a different coach, there's every chance that he mightn't have been brought back to the club. And he might have had to return to Brazil or go to Boca Juniors in Argentina or go to Mexico or something like that. And his chances of getting into TJ's squad would be reduced heavily. So he's combining this winning mentality and this caliber that's second to none, you could say, with this kind of reprieve of getting another chance, another shot, one last goal at the big time. So it's a very potent mix. And as somebody who loves La Liga and who wants to see a strong Barcelona, not a banter club, I think that having Dani Alves back in the league is only good.
All right. Well, geez, Alan, I mean, I have my notes and you hit every single one of my notes. So we're going to try to extend this segment just a little bit. You said don't go there about the Sao Paulo thing, but I do actually want to go there because it does say a lot about his motivations, where the reports are to believe that they had owed him about $2 million when he left. And if that number is to be believed, he's also arriving. I mean, the number we saw was €1 or whatever it was, 1,000 euros or something per week, which I'm not sure how true that is with his contract. I mean, he hasn't even officially signed it until Wednesday when he's going to be presented. So I'm not sure we know what those numbers are exactly. But what we do know is, as you said, this move does not seem for Dani Alves, where if he left the prior club, his boyhood club of Sao Paulo, to come back to Barcelona. Well, he left Sao Paulo. It wasn't to come to Barcelona. It was just to get another gig to go to the Olympics. But it shows that his motivations are purely twofold: to help the club that he loves greatly, that had his best years, that turned him into the legend that he is in the game, where he was nothing but a consummate winner. And the second part of that is, yes, to individually make sure that he reminds Brazilian fans who may have turned on him, but more importantly, the Brazilian national team, that, hey, I was your captain. I played every single minute at the Olympics. We won gold, and I'm going to be fine to play for 2022. I deserve to be there, and I'm playing for FC Barcelona, and that shows you that my level is fully capable of doing so. And when you talk about the banter, too, you mentioned about the winning, and it is unfortunate because the Dani Alves that is re-signing at 38 is not the same that left, sure, but it was interesting when he left that so many in the club, and me included, where you felt like they had to bring somebody new in, that you were seeing a bit of a decline. It was happening, where we knew that once his speed had been reduced just a bit, and I'm over 32, and once you lose that half a step, defending is a lot harder. But since that time, the reason we say banter is because 93.7 million euros were spent on Alex Vidal, Nelson Semedo, Musa Wage, Serginho Dest, and Emerson, all to dislodge Sergio Roberto. And now I guess you could add Mingueza to the mix, but to dislodge Sergio Roberto from that starting right back position, where you're saying that Sergio Roberto's best position is midfield, but he, even as a midfielder, he's not a starter for Barcelona, yet he's a starting right back for all those reasons. I actually, with the Sao Paulo thing, I want to ask you now, with what you would, we haven't had many people be able to see because of the Brazilian league's availability around the world as far as television rights and broadcasting rights. Not everyone got to see the 22 appearances he made for Sao Paulo last season. And you mentioned he played in those 22 appearances, right midfield, attacking midfielder, center midfielder, defensive midfielder, and right back. Now, to me, it's more telling that at the Olympics, he played as the right back in every single match. And the question you get from Dani Alves is kind of where will he play for Barcelona? And as you mentioned, the most important part of this signing is in training, is in leadership, but will his friend use him on the field?
I think so. And I was thinking about this today because obviously you've Serginho Dest there at the moment, who's probably first choice right back, you could say. But he's obviously playing on the right wing in recent weeks. So I was wondering, would he start him at right back and then keep Serginho out wide right and kind of have Dani Alves coming up behind him? Because he's mentioned in his press conference, Xavi, that he likes the idea of having wide players. And that's kind of a pet cornerstone. You could say having players who kind of hug the touchline to kind of spread the play and give more options as well when you're on the ball. Or, conversely, could you be playing Dani Alves out right wing and start Serginho Dest at right back? So there's several angles he could take. But one thing I think for sure is that when it comes to actually crossing a football, Dani Alves is the best option on the right side now because nobody can cross a ball like him. We don't know how his physicality is going to hold up because like the Brazilian league where he's been since 2019 is on a different plane to European football in terms of the way it's tactically organized, in terms of the conditioning, in terms of the way the players prepare themselves. It's completely different. So you can't really judge the way he played there against the way he's going to play in Europe again, especially in a league as competitive as La Liga, in an environment as high pressure as Barcelona. So there's question marks there for sure. But I guess he has 6 weeks between now and his debut to be able to get into top shape.
Right.
He's kept himself fit. I follow him on Instagram and he's always posting videos of him in the gym, shirtless, all this kind of stuff. His caption is good crazy. So I don't think that there's like a lot of older players suffer mentally before they do physically, as in they believe their body is breaking down before it breaks down, and that changes the way they play. It changes the way they commit to challenges, the way they commit to runs, and that's a big element. I think when you doubt in your mind, that affects your physical composition. That could be a bit new idea for some people. I don't know, but that's what I think personally. And I reckon that Dani Alves is so bulletproof mentally and so self-confident that he won't have that at all, and he's going to be going in like a hare from day one. He'd be taking no prisoners in training. He'd be going at full tongues, full capacity. So I reckon that if there is a glimmer of hope, he'll be able to extricate that hope and deliver, And whether that's at right back or on the right wing, I don't know. I don't think it'll be in central midfield. That was specific to Brazil. I think he'll be playing on the right flank. But whether that's up high and wide, where he replaces Serginho, or it's at right back, I don't know. But I reckon that he'll be there.
Well, yeah, I think it starts that conversation not even with right back, where if Sergio Roberto is returning to the midfield as one of those two pivots for Xavi, or maybe as an interior, one of the two interiors for Xavi, who knows, it's to what system and formation they're going to usually run out there. He has said, that being Xavi, that he is willing to change the formation based on the opposition, where he's willing to play with the two pivots and the two interiors against a 4-4-2, but if he's against a 4-4-3, that he's willing to do a 4-3-3. Depends on, and against a low block, he usually plays the 4-3-3. That is Xavi. And if we can take what he's done in Qatar and try to translate that to what he'll do at Barcelona, big question. But you're right. The one thing that he has, the through line that he has really pushed through, that being Xavi, is that he really wants wide players. And so we know that Dani Alves will be hugging the touchline somewhere, but it's a matter of how far up the field. And when you ask about that right winger depth chart, it is Dembele if healthy, and the biggest if obviously for Barcelona's health. For all the injuries to Ansu Fati and even Roberto, looking at his recent 2 seasons, Roberto was never really on the field. PK, Umtiti, no matter who you say, injuries are everywhere in Barcelona's. Pedri, no matter who you say, it's all injuries. But Dembele obviously is the biggest if. And then there's Serginho Dest. But then there's that trio that we're seeing that Xavi's going to take a hard look at of Demir, Abde, and Elisha Komash. So 17 and 18-year-olds and a 19-year-old in Abde. We don't know where that trio is going to fit. He might say, hey, these are all too inexperienced players. And now that right wing depth chart, if those three are kind of cast aside by Xavi for experience reasons, is just Dembele, if he's fit, and Dest, right? So very quickly, Dani Alves being a right wing option becomes ever present. Because outside of Dest and Dembele, it has to be Dani Alves as the third on that depth chart, if not for Demir, Abde, and Elisha Komash, as I've said. Now, Xavi, you get the idea that he might even, I'm not sure, I don't think he would go with Gabi on that right wing. I think he's going to keep Gabi as an interior and keep him in the middle of the field. It's where he fits most comfortably as a player. So again, Dani Alves, if he played 6 to 10 matches coming off the bench sometimes, maybe starting occasionally, that wouldn't surprise me. But if he also plays, 27 times, right, across all competitions, depending on how far Barca get in Copa del Rey, if he plays 27 times, both as a starter and a bench option, that also would not surprise me. And the final point on Dani Alves, we wrap it up, the winning mentality that you spoke about, because you had mentioned that Piqué and Alba and Ter Stegen, those are players that have dealt with a great number of pressure. They're players that have played in huge moments, but Dani Alves is nothing but a winner. He doesn't have that, to say almost the same thing actually as Xavi, oddly enough. Of that generation, there is no knock on them. Xavi lost a bit at the beginning of his career, and then he was nothing but a winner until he hung it up. For Dani Alves, he's been nothing but a winner the entire time. Even with Sevilla, he led them to one of their greatest eras ever in the center of the midfield as an attacking midfielder, then out wide as well. So Dani Alves, 23 trophies at the club. He basically left the club before that, the great decline, if you will, of all the heartache and all the heartbreak. And I wonder, as you mentioned, if no shine has come off Dani Alves, that will inject a life that the rest of those experienced players like Piqué and Busquets and Alba and Ter Stegen just cannot, because they've been knocked down a peg. They've been they in their own minds, they've become the team that is ninth in the Liga. And Dani Alves goes, hey, we're FC Barcelona. Don't we win trophies here? What are we doing here? I mean, that's what I came here to do, right? And I'm wondering how much, I don't want to overdo that, but I also think that there's a great possibility that is what Dani Alves is going to represent.
Yeah, and just one last point on Dani as well. He's from Bahia, in the northeast of Brazil.
Yeah.
And I spent a good time there recently. And the northeast of Brazil is a special place because it's very hard scrabble. It's where, the slaves first came from Africa. It's where the Portuguese had them initially. And it's the blackest part of Brazil as well. Salvador, specifically in Bahia, which is close to where Dani is from, in Juazeiro. But those people, without stereotyping and without, painting with a thick brush, are generally very hardworking, and the people who come to Rio, to Sao Paulo as migrants and work their way up ladders and are discriminated against. They're the most discriminated against class in Brazil is the Northeasterners, so they work hard, they know they're tough, they know what it means to suffer. So I guarantee you that, like I said earlier, Dani will be coming in. He's never been comfortable. Gerard Piqué, Sergio Roberto, Jordi Alba have all been comfortable since 2016 when Dani left. Dani has gone to Juventus. He's won. As you said, he's gone to PSG. He's won. He's gone to Sao Paulo. He's won. They won the Paulista. Even with Bahia, before he joined Sevilla, they won the Copa del Nordeste as well. So he's won everywhere he's gone, and he's not been comfortable. He's not been safe. He's not been not careful, but he's not been conservative in decision making, So I completely agree with what you're saying.